We're going to do a reaction video for the first time here on Phil's Tax Hacks and Other Retirement Facts. Going to react to Dave Ramsey's 9 steps for retirement planning and get Phil's take on that. So let's dive into it. Welcome into Phil's Tax Hacks and Other Retirement Facts with CPA and personal financial specialist Phil Putney. Now let's get rolling with today's show. Hey everybody, welcome into the podcast. Thanks for hanging out with Phil and I as we talk investing, finance, and retirement. And Phil, I'm going to put you on the spot this week. We're going to get into some Dave-isms. We're going to tackle some Dave Ramsey stuff here. Cool guy, got a great empire, does a lot of good stuff for people, but is his information helpful for everybody? And so I want to kind of do a quasi-react video, which is all the, kind of the rage on YouTube and TikTok and stuff like that, where basically, you just kind of react to whatever, the information is. Sure. I'm sure you're probably familiar with this, so it's not a completely raw reaction. But basically, I just kind of copied his 9 steps that he has, 9-step retirement plan, and just kind of get your take on the different steps and just kind of see how that applies to you whenever or how you feel about that when you're working with an individual. Because obviously, Dave is putting this information out for masses, right? And so you're either taking a hard stance or a wide stance because you're making it palatable to everybody.
Right. Yeah. I think the key with understanding Dave is his audience, to your point, is this broad audience. Sure. Our audience that we work with typically is the very narrow, those kind of nearing retirement.
Yeah, it's nuanced.
So it's going to be a different approach possibly to a lot of this, but
yeah. I mean, Dave's got his empire. He's awesome. He does what he does. This is really just is massive, wide information that is, kind of easy for everybody. Is that workable when you get down to the nitty gritty of sitting down and planning with an actual licensed professional that does it day in and day out? Because let's be honest, Dave's not licensed. It doesn't have to be. He can't be actually, because he's giving such wide information. So
yes.
All right, number 1, pretty easy, right? So I agree with this first step. What do you think? Just set your retirement goals. Dave encourages people to dream big.
Yes, I mean, if you don't know where you're going, any plan will get you there, right? I mean, that's kind of the old adage.
So, or a lack of plan, maybe will get you.
Or a lack of plan, right? So you've got to know what the end goal is. What is your retirement goal? And I mean, he talks about dreaming big, RV life, lake house, etc. Nothing wrong with that, but I said dream big, but dream reality too. I mean, let's face it, if you're making $50,000 a year,
the lake house might not be.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, this isn't reality. You're in a certain economic scenario and there's nothing wrong with that. Your retirement's going to be different than somebody else's retirement. Right. But I mean, I guess the dream big part to me, and I always encourage this with clients too, don't underestimate. If you had, like the A list, this is what I want my retirement to be. Let's lay that out and see if we can make it work. Okay. Because I don't want somebody to ever think, well, what if, right? If that is a goal, let's see if we can make it work. And then it comes down to prioritizing to say, well, if it's really that important to you to do this or that, that list, well, then here's some things that have to change to make that happen.
Yeah. I mean, it's a basic wish list. And then you go through and see where you're at financially at the time you start doing planning. And in order to get the rest of the items on the list, okay, we're going to have to make these changes, right? In order to get there, or we sacrifice some of the things on the list. That's what life's all about. Right. We go through that in all different kinds of stages. So I guess the lifestyle goals, are they central to the strategy for retirement? I would assume so, because I mean, you want your retirement to be what you want it to be, and then you pare back from there.
Right. Yeah. So dream big, including lifestyle goals of, whatever it happens to be, and then see if it works, and then start to pare back from there. And then that starts that discussion of, okay, well, having the boat was really important to me. It was on the list, but as we're working through it, it's not going to work unless I do, X, Y, Z, work longer, whatever it happens to be. So that's then becomes a decision. Is it really that important now? Gotcha. Do you want to work extra years, save extra to get that, or, cross that off the list because it's more important to retire earlier? Okay. To me, that's the process of planning, right? And that's where an advisor can bring huge value because they can walk you through the math of that decision to show you here's the pros and cons.
Yeah. All right. So let's do 2 through 4. We're going to combine these. Because they're around the numbers, the X's and O's part. Yep. So steps 2 through 4, save 15% of your income for retirement. Interesting. I'm a Gen Xer. I think we're both Gen Xers here. Yep. So we were probably told 10%.
Right.
Right. Save 10%. Now it's up to 15, which seems daunting for folks. Contribute to your 401k, invest in a Roth. So he separates these, but we're going to combine them, right? So
Right.
how do you prioritize helping people on that aspect of guidance? I mean, most of the time when people come to see you, they're probably already done most of this, but still, how do you kind of go through there?
Yeah, I was going to say, this is really kind of what phase of life you're in, right? So earlier in life, yeah, I mean, 15% might be daunting. So start where you can start. You know, it's one of those things that I encourage you to start maybe higher than what you think you can do, because the reality is, once you build this into the budget, once it comes out of the pay, right, you get used to it. You start to get comfortable with what your current income is, net income after saving. If you look at the number, you're always going to think, oh, I can't do that. I can't save, so start wherever you can, even small, but then increase that each year along the way. So as you get raises, or even just every year, add a percent or 0.5%, whatever it is, to grow the amount you're saving for retirement, especially if you're younger. As you get closer to the retirement age, the percentage really isn't the number. It comes down to running the math to see, okay, well, here's what you have. Here's what you're going to need to make the retirement lifestyle you want. How much do you have to save to get there? It could be 10%, 15, maybe it's maxing it out, depending on what your salary is. So,
yeah, I mean, and depending on where you're starting to get financial help, right? I think a lot of us, and we've talked about it many times, at 50, we start to get a little bit more serious about thinking about our retirement future. You still got, 12, 15, maybe 20 years of working coming up to still, so you can still be,
you've got a runway yet to be able to,
you got a runway.
So,
for sure.
And in the decision of, do you contribute to the traditional 401k, Roth or Roth IRAs? I mean,
which buckets are you going with?
Down to kind of the planning, right? And understanding from a long-term aspect, where you're going to be from a tax standpoint. So just general high level. I mean, the younger you are, the more it makes sense, contribute to Roth, right? You're going to be in your probably lowest earning years. So the tax savings you're going to realize from contributing to a 401k or traditional isn't going to be that much.
Yeah.
Compared to the long-term tax-free growth you could gain through a Roth. So,
and for the next couple of years, we're going to stay in some of the lowest tax brackets we've ever seen. So,
So with the BBB now passed, we know what the rates are. So we have that certainty for how many ever years until they change it again.
Yeah,
so.
Exactly. Okay. Step 5 is pay off your mortgage early. The emotional versus financial one, which we've talked about a million times.
Yeah.
Opportunity cost, right? I mean, this is where, again, breaking down the math, I think, comes into play, Phil, so that you can then make the best informed decision. Because if you owe $150,000 on your house and you have $150,000 in savings in the bank, you have the money to pay off the house. The question becomes a math question. Do you want to do that, or do you want to reinvest that money in a place that's making you more, all that good stuff?
Yeah. I mean, it really comes down to running the math to see, does it make sense to pay it off? What the opportunity cost is that you're losing by taking that money in the bank or an investment, let's say,
right?
And putting it against the mortgage. I mean, especially if you have a mortgage that you got into 3, 4, 5 years ago in the 3% range. I mean, that's a different question to now.
You could probably be making 5 or 6%, on that.
I mean, you can make, in T-bills, you can make around 5%, 4.5%. So why just the opportunity cost there? You're better off keeping the mortgage. So a lot of times the math doesn't make sense, but this is where, I always, when we're talking through this with clients, I talk about the head rule and the tummy rule, right? Sure. So the head rule, that's all the math. I can give you the math and run the numbers and show you.
And that's my point, though.
It might not make sense, but the tummy rule is, at the end of the day, if all the math says don't do it, but you just can't sleep at night and you'd be more comfortable paying the mortgage, then pay it off.
Yeah. And that's my point, right? Get the math first, which again, we've probably said that 8,000 times on this podcast, but get the math first. And then just make the decision, because it's your money. That's fine. If you would feel better paying it off, then cool. But get the math first so that you know the best possible option. And that's probably where some of the Again, the marriage counselor or the counselor thing comes into play because you may have two people sitting there and one's like, cool, I want the mortgage gone. And the other one's like, no, I want to make more money off of this, right? So
yeah, and I always tell my clients as we're going through the planning process is my role in it isn't to tell them this is what you're doing. Here's the plan. My role is to show them pros and cons and options on each one of these decisions so that when they're making that decision themselves, they're making an informed decision, not just a straight emotional decision of, well, it doesn't, I want to get it paid off. Okay, that's fine. That's what you want to do it. But understand first, what is the economic effect of that?
Yeah, exactly. And the same roles for step number 6. Study the Social Security options. And again, we're talking about Dave's plan here. And again, the steps, I like the steps, right? So we're just kind of breaking each down.
Absolutely.
But pros and cons of Social Security, never ending conversation.
Absolutely. I always run through the math on Social Security. This really comes down similar to the mortgage, right? It's a math equation. First, you got to run through, break even, understanding how Social Security works. The survivor benefit, that's one of the biggest components in Social Security that often leads to one of the spouses, the higher earning spouse, maybe delaying till 70 to pick up that higher surviving spouse benefit. Mm-hmm. And there's some huge tax benefits to it. We didn't get the no tax on Social Security like we were thinking, but at the end of the day, it's still one of the more tax efficient types of income. So worst case scenario, it's only 85% taxable versus pensions, IRA distributions are 100% taxable. So
right, and it's up to 85% based on how you pull your income, right? So,
so
again, the strategy of what you do is where are you pulling income from and what to kind of help keep that taxable limit lower.
Yeah. So Social Security, I always say when we go through that discussion with clients is, you can look at Social Security in a box and run the break even and get all the math just on Social Security. You're probably going to get one answer there, but that generally is not going to be the right answer. You have to look at Social Security in light of everything else, right? Your other income sources, taxes, to get the right end decision on Social Security. So.
Well, now, so Dave talks again a lot about this is planning for retirement, right? The steps. So step 7 is planning for healthcare costs. One of the pieces in here, Dave says, get it as soon as you're 60, as soon as you can, right? At 60 years old. Long-term care insurance. I should just make sure I say that. Yep. So what's your thoughts on that first piece?
So, long-term care insurance is much like life insurance, right? It doesn't age like wine or cheese, right? It doesn't get better. So I don't know how he came up with 60, but the reality is when you run your numbers on long-term care, if there is potentially a need, meaning you don't have enough assets accumulated to cover that, or you wanted, even if you did, you wanted to shift some of that risk to an insurance company, it doesn't get cheaper with age. So I don't know how he's coming up with age 60, but that's a discussion we have with every client as we're going through the planning process. So they know the pros and cons and, what that looks like.
Yeah.
But the younger you do it, the better off you're going to be because rates are lower. And one of the biggest nuances is that, let's say you're waiting till 60. Well, what happens if all of a sudden something happens medically where now you no longer qualify?
Yeah.
True. Right.
Yeah.
So now you want to wait till 60 because Dave said, but yet now you don't qualify.
The Tax Smart Retiree is your comprehensive guide to mastering tax efficiency for a flourishing retirement. You will find indispensable advice and actionable strategies designed to enhance tax savings, maximize Social Security benefits, protect against market volatility, and develop a customized retirement plan. To get your free ebook, click the link in the show notes of today's episode and download your copy of the Tax Smart Retiree right now.
So he's got the HSA as an investment tool on here as well, which we love.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Should it be higher on the list?
Yeah.
If it can be.
If you have a high deductible plan, HSAs are absolutely something I recommend you use. Typically with an HSA, my recommendation is, especially, in the later years of life, if you have extra disposable income already, contribute to the HSA, don't touch it, just pay the out-of-pocket medical expenses out of your normal everyday budget, right? Because it becomes then almost like a super Roth for medical later in retirement. We're all going to have medical, like long-term care even.
Right.
So, it could be an account that you set up that's used for those type of expenses later on in retirement. So,
yeah. And definitely make sure you're doing the Medicare planning and looking at the options as you're getting closer.
Yep.
A lot of advisors have somebody on staff or at least someone they recommend it's really kind of specialized in those because that gets very nuanced as well. So
Yep. And we've got Brandon and my son-in-law in the office that does that for our clients right now. So yep, Medicare, you get close to that age is a key point to understand. And I mean, talking about healthcare, this is one of the decisions often that kind of weighs heavy on that retirement age decision, right? I mean, if you're thinking, I'd really like to retire at 62 because I'm just done, that's great. Well, what are you going to do for healthcare for the next 3 years? And unfortunately, it can be very costly going to the marketplace using Cobra to bridge that gap until age 65. So,
well,
not
and that really
do it, but just it's one of those pieces that you have to understand and build into the plan to know what additional expense you're taking on for that period of time. So,
well, and that kind of really feeds into step 8, which again, I do kind of like some of how the steps are laid out here. It's keep a long-term perspective and think about it, view it further out, right? Because it's more of a mindset than a strategy, but how do you actually build resilience, I guess, into your plan? Because we're people, right? We don't often, not everybody's great with patience.
Right.
So, it's like, oh, I got to do something at 50 or 52 or whatever that's going to affect me at 70. That sucks.
Yeah. I mean, it's, planning is one of those processes that you do have to look at the long-term effect, right? What's
you need to,
It's just a necessity to get there, right?
Oh,
Otherwise, you're going to be 5 years from it and having done no planning, and now your options are limited.
Well, Phil, I saw a great meme the other day. It was just a meme of some 18-year-old in the 80s or 20-year-old or whatever they were drinking a beer, right? And it said, younger me had zero care about what this would do to older me, right? Yep. And we're all guilty of it in whatever it is that you've done to your body or finances or whatever. But it's very hard sometimes to think long term.
Right. Yeah. So you always have to have that long-term perspective. And then the resilience comes in just looking at that plan on a regular basis, kind of revisiting it. Has things changed in your life? Is still retiring at whatever this age is that you've picked appropriate? Did you want to move that closer? Can you move it closer because things have gone well, right? You've saved more, whatever the case is. So that's part of the planning process. It's never a set it and forget it of, oh, I did my plan, 15 years ago and it said do X, Y, Z. Well, I can guarantee if you did that plan 15 years ago, there's probably nothing in it that's still relevant because a lot has changed in the last 15 years. So.
Great point. Yeah. Well, and 8 does flow into 9, and I'm glad it made the list. Dave says work with a financial advisor, right? Yeah. So, why is it last?
Bottom of the list.
It's the bottom of the list, but I think I'm okay with that a little bit if you're thinking about these pieces, because then you're going to see somebody, or maybe it should just be number 1, and then they can help you with everything else. But when should you reach out? Phil, we've talked about it a bunch of times. I make the analogy. I'm kind of proud of myself for it. I think it's a good analogy. We think of, Memorial Day as the kick to summer, and it's not actually summer. I think we think of age 50 as the kick towards retirement, even though we're not actually at retirement yet. But we start to kind of think about it. We start getting more serious. We get the pool ready, so to speak.
Right. Yeah. I mean, in the younger years, the detailed planning isn't as relevant just because you have such a long runway.
Right.
But I think, at least having a discussion with an advisor is good because they can start to point out some of these factors of that long-term perspective to point you in the right direction, so to speak. But you've got a long runway to make shifts along the way. As you get closer, like age 50 or beyond, now it becomes more important to really start running the numbers because that runway has become pretty short.
Yeah.
So if you're on track or not on track, well, now we've got to make some corrections, and the time we have to make that happen is a shorter period of time.
And you don't want miscalculations there because, again, you do have less time. That's the point, right? That's really the crux right there is making mistakes is going to happen. We're all humans. We're going to make mistakes, and you're even going to make them in your 50s and stuff too financially, but you want to limit those, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's where a financial advisor can help give some input, be that sounding board as you're walking through some of these decisions. So,
yeah, well, you've done it for, hundreds, thousands of people. It's, I would rather have the surgeon who's had, done this a bunch of times and has great experience than the brand new person. Not to say the brand new person couldn't be awesome. They might be totally awesome. Right. But I think in our mind, we go, give me the person that they're going to cut on my,
little bit of experience here.
The person that's got a little bit of experience. Right. So, Look, Dave's 9-step plan, it's really helpful for building basic financial habits. Dave does a great job with that stuff. But retirement is a bit more complex than just a checklist, right? So we talk about that often. You need more than just those broad strokes. It really does take a complex, complete strategy for the individual. All the universal stuff affects us all. We're all going to get hit with taxes. We're all going to deal with Social Security. We all got to think about, this, that, and the other, legacy, and so on and so forth. But how it affects you versus me versus Phil is completely different. So get yourself onto a calendar, right? Have a conversation, sit down. Almost every advisor I know, and I know a lot of them, do complimentary consultations for that reason. Finding the one that's the right for you, and can they help you? And can you be helped by them, right? Not everybody's style works for everybody else. So get yourself onto the calendar. Check the links below. Reach out to Phil. You can find him at philstaxhacks.com. That's the main website for the podcast. Of course, we got links to his actual website as well to get some time onto the calendar. Don't forget to subscribe to us on Apple or Spotify or YouTube. Drop us a comment below if we messed something up about Dave, or maybe we missed a step that you think's important. Put it in the comments, and we'll talk about it on a future episode of the podcast. Phil, thanks for hanging out, breaking it down, my friend. As always, appreciate you.
You too. Take care.
Well, appreciate it. All right, we'll see you next time here on Phil's Tax Hacks and other retirement facts.
Phil?
Investment advisory services offered through AFS Wealth Management. The content of this program is provided for informational purposes only and is not a solicitation or recommendation of any investment strategy. Investments and/or investment strategies involve risk, including the possible loss of principal. There is no assurance that any investment strategy will achieve its objectives.